Chat Sports, it's time for another New Orleans Pelicans video. My name is Carter the Power Bryant, and today we are going through 5 potential lineups that could trot out there for the New Orleans Pelicans next year. And I'm going to give you a bonus lineup too. Just for you guys. Don't tell anyone, okay? It's just for you. And I want to dig into what I believe the Pelicans starting lineup will look like next year in the Smoothie King Center. And I know you guys are going to destroy me in the comments for this, but this is just my big beignet-filled gut feeling of how the Pelicans are going to look on day one. Lonzo Ball at the point guard position. Jrue Holiday at shooting guard. At the small forward, we have Brandon Ingram. At the power forward, we have Zion Williamson. And this is where you guys are going to drag me through the coals in the comments. But Jahlil Okafor at the starting 5 position. Okay? First off, Lonzo versus JJ Redick in the starting lineup. That's going to be an interesting dynamic there. I do believe Lonzo gets the start. It's going to do wonders for his confidence. He's a young player. Let him know that he's welcome in New Orleans. Mentally, it would be huge to hand the keys of the offense to Lonzo Ball. We've seen Jrue Holiday play that off-guard position multiple times in his career, and this is a lineup that would fit really well for Lonzo's skill set. So I believe Lonzo will be the starting point guard. And then at center, I know it's going to get ugly in the comments, and that's perfectly fine with me. But I believe Jahlil Okafor will be the starting center. I saw a lot in his game grow. He looked like that top 5 pick from years ago. He looked like that center that led Duke to the national championship game. He looked lighter. He looked in a lot better shape. I think he started working out with Dwayne Wade's trainer in the offseason, and you saw it in his game. He became a better defender as well. So, because of his familiarity with the Pelicans system, I believe Jahlil Okafor will get the start. Now, most of you think lineup number 2. I'm calling this the popular Eichenhofer lineup. And Jim Eichenhofer, one of the best Pelicans writers, he works for the team on NBA.com. This is a lineup that he projected on the Pelicans Twitter account right after the NBA Summer League with Daniel Sallerson. They did a little video, and it goes like this. Lonzo Ball at the point guard position, Jrue Holiday at that shooting guard position. At the 3, we have Brandon Ingram. At the 4, we have Zion Williamson. And at the 5, Forbes.com calls this the most underrated move of the offseason. Recently acquired center from the Utah Jazz, Derrick Favors. And I think Favors is going to enjoy the new scenery. I can't tell you enough as a person of color that living in New Orleans will be a lot better than living in pasty white Salt Lake City. So, I think Favors is going to be rejuvenated with this opportunity to play in a new city. I think Derrick Favors can do everything well. I think he and Jahlil Okafor are very similar players. And I do think Favors is probably the slightly better player. I just think Okafor, coming back from last year's team, will be the starting center, as in the starting lineup. That doesn't necessarily mean Favors will end up being better or worse than Okafor. So, let's just go on ahead and throw it out there for you, the Chat Sports audience. Who do you believe will be the starting center day one for the New Orleans Pelicans? Jahlil Okafor or Derrick Favors? Now, I want to bring up one stat that might surprise you guys just a little bit. So throughout Derrick Favors' career, he played alongside Rudy Gobert. So he's used to playing alongside other good big men. I want to show you the per 36-minute production statistics on basketballreference.com. And I've gotten this on Twitter. I've gotten this on the comments, Instagram, all over the place. How in the world did you think Jahlil Okafor is a starter over Derrick Favors, because we did a starting lineup on our last Pelicans video. You can go watch that. That was a lot of fun. But look at these per 36 numbers, okay? Let's start with Derrick Favors. 18.3 points per game, 11.4 rebounds per game, and 2.2 blocks per game. Now, the per 36 minute statistic to me is a more accurate representation than overall statistics, because Okafor just didn't start as much and play as much as Derrick Favors did. Now let's look at Jahlil Okafor's numbers per 36 minutes. 18.6 points per game, 10.7 rebounds per game, and 1.5 blocks per game. So look at that. Their stat lines are very similar. In fact, there really is no difference. So for those saying that it's just absolutely ridiculous that Derrick Favors doesn't start over Jahlil Okafor, you're crazy, okay? You, your mama, whoever, you're crazy, all right? It is not as big to me as a drop-off. I do think Derrick Favors is probably the slightly better player. He's 4 years older. He's a more experienced player. But I do think both of them will be productive Pelicans next year. But listen, this is the NBA, and centers are no longer the rage. We don't have any more Elijah Wans. We don't have any more David Robinsons. And in the Pelicans' case, there is no more Anthony Davis on the New Orleans Pelicans. Lineups are getting smaller and smaller and smaller, which leads me to lineup number 3, the small lineup. Let's say Golden State trots out one of those speed lineups. This is a lineup I think the Pelicans would start with, potentially. Lonzo Ball at the point guard. JJ Redick at the shooting guard. Jrue Holiday at the small forward. Brandon Ingram at the power forward. And Zion Williamson at the center. Let's say just for a game, you're playing one of these small lineup teams and you want to start small. I think that's how the Pelicans would line up. Remember, this traditional idea of NBA lineups being point guard, shoot guard, small forward, power forward, center, that is no longer the case. We are in a positionless NBA. You have to be able to do multiple things well. There are no Luke Loneleys or Oliver Millers anymore. You have to be able to do a lot of different things well, and this lineup provides you a lot of versatility. This lineup provides you a lot of offense. So if you wanted to start small, you can certainly start out this way. I want to throw out another audience question, just for giggles, okay? Which guard do you think will have a better season next year? Type Redick for JJ Redick, or type Zoe for Lonzo? Or could it potentially be another guard not named Jrue Holiday? Take Jrue Holiday out of the equation. Who's going to be the next best guard? I'm going to get to you. I'm going to get to one surprise candidate here in just a moment on who could be that second best guard on the Pelicans. For right now, though, I want to go to what I believe is the Pelicans' best lineup. I do think this lineup will be the most productive lineup, and I think this lineup will be the one that the Pelicans will play a lot in crunch time. At the point guard, I have Jrue Holiday. At the shooting guard, I have JJ Redick. Small forward, Brandon Ingram. Power forward, Zion Williamson. And at center, I have Derrick Favors, okay? Here's the thing about Jrue Holiday. The biggest reason why JJ Redick went to New Orleans this offseason is because of Jrue Holiday. Read all the reports. We all know their rapport. We all know their friendship. And honestly, their games complement each other really well. And we all know Jrue Holiday is really good at finding shooters on the wing. JJ Redick, he's played so many crunch time minutes and big time moments, probably more so than any other player on this roster. He's played big minutes. So whether it was with the Clippers or the 76ers, JJ Redick and Jrue Holiday, I think, will be a very productive duo there. And Brandon Ingram, I know I'm a little bit higher on him than most people. I believe the second portion of last year, we saw what Brandon Ingram could be. I know the blood clots are a big deal to a lot of people. We'll see how he plays out. We haven't really talked much, ironically, about Zion Williamson because he is such a shoo-in to be the starting power forward. But something that's going to be interesting to monitor is Zion Williamson's conditioning. Not only are fans out there worried about Zion's weight and whatnot, Coach K even mentioned this in interviews, that Zion Williamson's conditioning might not be where it needs to be right now. So we will see how Zion's year plays out, and obviously we're going to have hundreds of YouTube videos on Chat Sports talking about what we expect from Zion next year. In the last video, I told you what I think Zion will do. I think he'll be a 15 points per game, 8 rebounds, and 2 block shot kind of player. I don't believe he'll be the rookie of the year in the NBA. I believe that'll be Ja Morant. So I do think Zion is the center of this team, even in year one. Obviously, the Pelicans are going to get a lot of national attention because of Zion Williamson. I want to ask you a question. When you just saw that lineup just now, Jrue Holiday, JJ Redick, Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson, Derrick Favors, is that the best Pelicans starting lineup next year? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Also in the comments section, I want you guys to let me know what you think the best Pelicans starting lineup would be. Give me your top 5. I want to see it right now. Once again, like we said in point number 3, don't worry so much about positions. Who do you think would be the most productive 5 on the floor for the Pelicans next year? Now remember, the NBA is a changing league when it comes to the regular season. Coaches, general managers, and all whatnot understand this new concept of load management. 82 games a year is a lot. We just talked about Zion Williamson's conditioning. Jrue Holiday's had injury issues. All NBA players have injury issues. So, load management, I think, will not only be a big deal for the contenders, the Clippers and the Lakers. I think more mid-level teams, 7, 8, 9, 10 seed level teams, are going to do some load management. Back-to-backs are tough. So, I'm going to show you a crazy lineup here. The load management lineup. Lineup number 5. We have at point guard, Lonzo Ball. And this load management lineup, I'm taking out the 3 players who I think will be used the most. No Zion Williamson, no Jrue Holiday, no Brandon Ingram in this lineup, okay? So just remember that. I don't want you guys to go crazy. The load management lineup is Lonzo at the point guard. How about this? That guard I mentioned earlier, who I hadn't mentioned yet, Frank Jackson. Had a great summer league. The dude can knock down a corner 3. High basketball IQ. He lines up at the shooting guard. Josh Hart, who has talked so much about how much he's enjoyed New Orleans. He came over from the Lakers trade. He lines up at that small forward position. Kenrich Williams, who started a few games for the Pelicans, a big man out of TCU, will line up at the power forward. And then at center, we have Derrick Favors or Jahlil Okafor or whoever you want to put there for the load management lineup. Once again, subscribe to YouTube, Chat Sports. That's 5 lineups for you. But remember, I have a bonus lineup. And we're going to have fun with this lineup for you guys, okay? This is fun, all right? The future lineup. How about this, people? We all know the Pelicans had a pretty exciting draft. They drafted 4 players in the NBA draft. And in this future lineup, what the Pelicans lineup can look like 2 or 3 years from now, this is how we have them lined up. Nickeil Alexander-Walker out of Virginia Tech at the point guard. Marcos Lozada Silva, the guard out of Brazil, who's playing this year in Australia. He is a draft and stash player. He will not be a New Orleans Pelican. He will sit out this year. The dude looked like Leandro Barbosa, the Brazilian guard who played for the Suns for so long. He lines up Didi Silva And then at small forward, we have Brandon Ingram. At power forward, we have Zion. And then at center, we have Sideshow Bob Jaxson Hayes, who lit it up in the Summer League. He made second team All-Summer League with all those crazy dunks and blocks. Here's the thing about this lineup. Brandon Ingram is the only player old enough to buy alcohol, and they're going to be in New Orleans. So if they're going to patios to grab a hurricane or a tropical isle to get a hand grenade or a shark attack, you have to have Brandon Ingram there because he's the oldest person at 21. And guess what? Lonzo's only 21 as well. So, and Frank Jackson's not that much older. That right there is the future lineup. And before I let you go, I want you to let me know, do you think the Pelicans in the brutal Western Conference will make the playoffs in the next 2 years? I reply to almost every comment, okay? If you have any questions, you can always hit me up on social media. That is at Carter the Power everywhere. That is TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, Reddit, at Carter the Power. Subscribe to Chat Sports. Thank you guys so much, and we will talk to you soon.